afternoon, depending on where you are, everyone. My name is Nicole Bush. I'm with Alumni Career and Professional Development here at Tulane University. And I just want to welcome you all to today's professional development series, our Employer Spotlight with National Journal. We have a few folks from National Journal joining us today. And of course, we're going to start off with the president, Kevin Turpin. So I'm going to hand that over to you, Kevin, and let you introduce yourself and start the session. I do want to just let everyone know that we are recording this session. It will be available online after to be viewed. So thanks again for joining us. And Kevin, thanks for being here.
Wonderful. Well, Nicole, thank you so much for that warm welcome, and certainly appreciate being able of this series. And to quickly introduce myself, Kevin Turpin, president of National Journal Group. We are an information service company that is based in Washington, D.C. We have existed for 51 years. So we were founded, I believe, in 1969, and have always served the Washington, D.C. market with information, journalism, and research, all centered on public policy and politics. So certainly excited to tell you all more about National Journal Group, but that's the quick introduction on who we are. And as far as who I am, I actually have only worked at National Journal. So I graduated from college in 2005 and started at National Journal 2 weeks after I graduated. And entered the company in an entry-level position. So I was an associate that was responsible for selling one of our publications, as well as supporting the marketing team. And then I started my movement through the ranks. So again, excited to be with you all today, and just to share a little bit about our company, and happy to answer any questions that you all may have about our company. So with that said, I'll jump into the deck. So I think today, at least from the agenda standpoint, we'd like to do a couple things. So first, just give a deeper overview of the company, walk you through what our offerings are, then talk about our culture. That's what I really love talking about, the type of culture that we've built and that we continue to build. That's always an exciting topic for me, and happy to share my thoughts on it with you all. Opportunities for growth, just because I think when you're at the beginning of your career, that's one of the most important things that one should be looking at when they're entering into the workforce. Is this going to be a place that I can grow and succeed, that I could obtain skills that will help me grow in the future? So again, really excited to talk to you about what National Journal offers its employees in that aspect. And then I have some colleagues on the call with me that will share different open roles that we have right now that we're looking to fill. And then we'll have some time for Q&A, which I'd like to actually save as much time as possible for that portion, just so I can hear any questions and we can hear any questions that you may have and be able to answer those. So National Journal overview. I started with a little bit of our history, being founded in 1969, and us now being a research and insight company, so information services company, really committed to helping organizations effectively navigate Washington. So what does that mean? That's a vague explanation, but really what we do in practice is we work for government affairs professionals. And how I like to define government affairs professionals is really 3 different buckets. So the first bucket are those who make policy. So that is Capitol Hill and your member of Congress in the House, or the member of Congress that represents you in the Senate. And then that's also the executive branch. So everything from the executive office of the president to individual executive agencies, think the Department of State or the Department of Treasury, Department of Energy, on and on and on. So that is one big group of our customer set. And then we have another group, which is those that lobby or advocate a position to that first group. And that's going to be like the head of government affairs for Southern Company, or the head of government affairs for Microsoft. So they are running an office that is located in DC, and what their office is responsible for is representing that company's interests in front of the federal government as well as state government. So whatever different locations that a company may have a presence in, they're also advocating for their company's interests in front of those both statewide and local governments. And then the last group are the media environment, as well as what we call in DC, the think tank environment. So these are research organizations or organizations that cover Washington, cover politics, cover policy. And we are an organization that they look to get information from to help them stay on top of what are the new trends that are happening in Washington, whether that be from a legislative standpoint or a political standpoint. And our organization exists really to do that. We have a reputation of being forward-looking. So what that means is we are constantly looking at not only what's going on today, but also what's Washington going to be focused on 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, what's going to drive the agenda as it relates to the laws being passed in Washington, the laws being considered. From a political standpoint, where are the power shifts potentially going to happen? So the Democrats have control of the House of Representatives right now, and the Democrats have control of the Senate and the presidency. But we have an election next year that may change one of those legislative bodies when it comes to the Senate or the House and who has majority control, or it might change both of them. So right now, a lot of people are trying to gather what's going to drive the election. We're really at the forefront of that, really seeking to understand the issues, the individual races, as well as what are potential fault lines that the individual parties are going to use to try to drive an advantage going into next year. So the media will look to us for that, our fellow media organizations, as well as the folks that are actually in the seats look to us to really guide them on what's happening on a macro level, as well as a micro level. And then lastly, the government affairs professionals are looking at us as a third-party research body that can help them advise their individual organizations. Our team, so I introduced myself. I also have a couple teammates on the call. One of them is Rebecca Katona. Rebecca is our Vice President of Talent and Culture. She's a great partner with me as we think through both how we welcome new talent within the organization, and then once everyone has joined, the type of culture that we're building that's engaging, exciting, and something that people look at as a place that they're learning, growing, and advancing. So let me get deeper into how we serve all of these different groups. How do we serve that client set of government affairs professionals or public policy professionals? We actually do it in two very different ways. So we have two divisions within our organization, and that's how we're set up, where we have a division that we call National Journal Membership that is really grounded in journalism. So that's why I name us an information services company, because we really serve at different levels of information. So on this side of our organization, we do have two journalism products. And that one is a print-based newsletter that comes out daily. We call it National Journal Daily. That's hyper-focused on covering Congress. So covering the agenda of Congress and helping give our clients just a view of, again, what is Congress going to be working on in any particular week, as well as what are the things that they should be looking ahead and preparing for the future that will come on to Congress's agenda 3 months, 6 months from now. And then we have a publication that's called the Hotline that is digital only, that we produce by sending it by email to our customers, and they also can come to our website and get the publication. The Hotline is totally focused on elections. So it's what we call an election tip sheet, because it covers every federal election as well as the governor's seats every year. So it's really gathering what's the news around each election, the polling around each election, and it's known for really kind of setting the stakes for who's leading in each election and where each election might end up from the standpoint on who wins and who loses when the elections are had. So we're serving our customers with both of those publications daily, and they're able to rely on us to keep them ahead of the curve, both on what Washington is doing around public policy and legislation, as well as what's happening on the election and politics side of the coin when you look at the hotline. With the journalism, we team that with what we call time-saving tools. So we have a number of things that our clients use to save them time. So one is just a day book. You could imagine the utility of just having a calendar that is reviewing every important event that's happening in Washington every day. If you're working in Washington, this is really important. So you're not missing an important meeting, you're not missing an important legislative moment as it relates to Capitol Hill. And also you stay on top of interesting things that you might want to attend this to grow your knowledge in the policy issues that you might care about. For example, healthcare. If you care deeply about healthcare and there's a think tank hosting a conference on a particular date, you're not going to miss that conference is happening, and it might be something you want to join just to advance your knowledge. So that is one time-saving tool that we have, so people don't have to either try to keep their own calendars or try to stitch together what their agenda potentially should or could be every week. They can just come to our website and get a really good view of what's happening. And then we have the Almanac, which is a database of profiles of members of Congress. So really at our clients' fingertips, they can get a bio on each member of Congress and really deep information on the district that they represent, their election results, the issues that they care about, and it's all in one place. So often they're having to communicate with people that are outside of Washington. And this becomes a really handy tool when they're wanting to get, for example, a executive that is coming in town to meet with a member of Congress, when they're wanting to get them a quick biography on the person that they're meeting with. They can just come to our website, print that off, and then they're off to the races. And then lastly, there's the Presentation Center, which is a really important product for us, and a product that we launched a number of years ago. I believe it was in 2013. And the Presentation Center is an exciting product because it was off of a set of problems that our clients were sharing with us, in that they were having to take all the information that they were reading from the journalism products in Washington, and there's a lot of them, and put them into PowerPoint. So they're having to put the main points into PowerPoints and share that with their executives back at headquarters. So I used Microsoft earlier. Microsoft Head of Government Affairs was reading tons of information, and then they would have to boil that information down on, for example, what was the direction of tech policy over the next 3 months. They'd have to boil that down into a PowerPoint and send that to Seattle or send that to Redmond. So their executives back at Redmond can be up to speed on what's happening in Washington. It was very time consuming, and also it wasn't something that they're particularly good at. So we launched a product to actually take the creation of the PowerPoint off of their plates. And it's become a really popular product in Washington. And we have a team of about 20 that works on this product. And what they do is they read everything for the client, and then they just boil it down into a PowerPoint, send it to the client. The client's able to take all of the information out of said deck. They can use it as is, or they can use slides. They can change slides if they want, but they don't have to think about creating the deck. The deck is created for them. So as we mentioned, time-saving tools, this is a huge time saver for our clients. And then lastly, we expanded into doing this in a custom way 3 years ago. We call it Presentation Center Concierge, where clients can call us and actually request us to build a deck for them. So we have major corporations that call us regularly to build decks for their boards, decks for their CEOs, organizations like Chevron, organizations like NRDC, that will call us and say, can you build a deck for me on X matter? And we'll turn that around for them in 2 or 3 days. And they'll use our deck as is. And again, they'll send it to the top ranks of their organization. So we're really proud of this product just because we partner with really major organizations and are really helping them in an acute need area. So that is National Journal membership. And we serve about 600 organizations with this product. Certainly serving a lot of organizations in Washington. And we continue to look to innovate in this area and really be a leader in what I call workflow tools for Washington professionals, things that plug right into their workflow and help them get the work they need to get done in a more efficient and smarter manner. Moving to the other side, National Journal Research, that's the other division of our company. So this part of our company is much more consultative. And I would say it probably walks right up to the line of being a consulting company. And we serve our clients that engage with us with these different products in a much different way than we do on the membership side. So one of our products is called Network Science Initiative. And really at its heart, we are staying on top of the different areas of influence in Washington as it relates to people. And we have Fortune 500, Fortune 100 companies hire us to really help them navigate the people dynamics around the issues that they care about. So an example could be a couple years ago when tax reform was happening. We had a number of clients that hired us to really get on top of who were the different experts in different parts of the tax code and who did they influence in Washington. And they were using that information really to understand who are the people we need to be talking to from an advocacy standpoint and who are the people that we need to be monitoring because they may be in line with our position on an issue. And Washington, you always have power in numbers. So people are always looking to combine their efforts with others to get the outcomes that they want. So we've really plugged into that process and help organizations understand who they should be engaging with, who they should be partnering with as it relates to the issues that they care about. We serve a number of different types of clients. I mentioned Fortune 100 companies. We serve a number of foundations in this area. And then we had our Pac Vetting Services. This is a really interesting product that we just launched at the beginning of this year. This product is incredibly focused on, vetting members of Congress against the stated corporate values of organizations. So what I mean by that is the way Washington typically works is there's a fundraising element to PACs where they'll give money to members of Congress. And over the last year, organizations are much more watchful about the issues or the members of Congress that they want to give to. And in doing that, they want to judge all of their donations by if a member of Congress matches with their stated corporate values. And we come in and do that research work for them and really understand, does a member of Congress match what you stated is important to you within your organization? So excited about this work, excited about the missional value here as well, where we're helping organizations really stay true to the values that they are saying are important to them. And then lastly, we have a product called Vignette. That really is an extension of Network Science Initiative, where we do deep people research on not only members of Congress, but really anybody who influences policy and put together pretty detailed profiles on these people. So folks that are engaging in Washington can be very informed about the people that they're meeting with, that they're wanting to form relationships with. So that is the other part of our company. Again, much more focused on research and consulting. we're a very eclectic company where there's different ways to plug in. We have journalism. We certainly have business time-saving tools where we have an analyst need for folks to work on these products. And then on the other side, we hire consultants and business analysts from our research side of the business. So we're really looking for a lot of different types of people, which is exciting because people who have different interest areas can come in and find a home at National Journal. So culture. So this is what I love talking to as it relates to National Journal. I probably spend over 50% of my time thinking about our culture. What type of company are we building? What's important to us as it relates to creating an environment where someone can join and really feel like they can bring themselves to our organization and can thrive and grow once they get within the organization. So a couple things that I like to know around our culture. We have a deep commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. My belief on diversity, equity, and inclusion is this is not work that you check a box on. It's work that you commit to being part of everything you do. This is not a compliance mindset, it's a strategy mindset. My belief is DEI needs to be part of your strategy because that's how you become a successful organization or you reach the full potential of your success is a better way to say that. On the other side of things, when you look at it just compliance, really you're just checking boxes, but you're not really moving to real changes. And I think that really short circuits the opportunity that focusing on DEI gives organizations. So there's a number of things that we stood up and are committed to and have within our organization that matches it being part of our strategy, but this work never stops. You're always looking to press the envelope here because I think the further you go in making yourself as diverse and inclusive as possible, the more successful you'll be as an organization, and that's something I deeply believe. So a couple of things that we've stood up: employee resource groups. So we have a number of employee resource groups that when someone joins our organization or someone's a member of our organization can join. These are really important to the fabric of the organization because it's the place where you can get together. For example, I'm in the Black American employee resource group, and we have great conversations that otherwise I don't think would be had in a company-wide context or even within the teams that we all work on, where we can really talk about, is National Journal a place where I feel comfortable bringing my whole self to? And where we fall short as an organization, we can talk about in an employee resource group and really come back to leadership. I happen to also be the president, but come back to leadership with real, what I would say, critiques that can lead to actionable solutions. And that's why I think the employee resource groups are so important, that you can get to actionable solutions that move you into a better direction as an organization. We also have a DEI advisory board. So everything we do from a strategic standpoint goes through our DEI advisory board, where our leadership team certainly makes decisions from a budget aspect and from a commitment aspect as it concerns our diversity, equity, and inclusion strategy. But we put all of those decisions through our advisory board, which is representative of every team in our company and every level of our company. And that way, we have an accountability system to make sure that we're truly making changes that are going to have an impact within the organization. And then lastly, we do quarterly reporting. I believe transparency is a lot of a big part of a DEI strategy, that you have to be transparent about what you're doing, about the progress you're making, and the progress you're not making. That way, you never can truly run away from the challenge. You're always running towards the challenge. So we report quarterly on things like our hiring process. Are we matching stated commitments that we've made as it pertains to interviewing people of color in roles that we have open, hiring people of color in roles that we have open. And that just doesn't stop with people of color. Certainly gender, certainly sexual orientation. These are all things that we're wanting to keep a very transparent posture on, just to make sure we're moving towards the things that we're stating we want to do. We also post these quarterly reports on our website. So anyone who's considering us as an employer can go to our website and find our quarterly reports. Our values, which are equally as important, are really twofold. There's force of ideas. Force of ideas is something we deeply believe in, that we want everyone who comes in our company to feel comfortable sharing their ideas. Me as the president, I believe that ideas really fuel our future growth. And I want ideas to come from every pocket of the organization. I want to create venues where people feel comfortable sharing their ideas, whether that be something that we should be covering from our journalism side, or a product that we should be launching on our research side. We've had ideas that have come from every level of our organization that have become businesses for us, or have become new processes that really unlocked efficiency, because we truly do believe in hiring people that are intellectually curious, that have that are solution oriented, that want to share their ideas. And I want to be very clear. I believe the sharing of ideas can come through many different venues. You certainly have some people who will get into big venues and are very comfortable sharing their ideas. You have other people who like to think about a problem and come back to you with a written memo. We don't care how the idea comes. We just want to be very clear that we want people to feel comfortable sharing what they think. And we hire people who have opinions and who have ideas, and certainly encourage those opinions to be shared. Next is spirit of generosity. That's at the fabric of our company, that we want to hire people who are generous in spirit. And what that means is it's a posture to serve, whether that be a posture to serve our clients or a posture to serve each other. What I love about National Journal is you meet a number of people, or really everyone you meet, are incredibly bright, ambitious, but at the same time, really root for their colleague to succeed. And I think everyone who comes into our organization mentions our kindness. There's just people who are kind, that want you to be successful, will help you be successful. An anecdote I often tell is, when I was early in my career, I was on the sales side, and I was making a transition over to the strategy side, but I didn't know how to do financial modeling, which I knew was going to be important if I was going to advance on the strategy and product development side. And our FP&A, so the person who was over our finance function, took time out of her calendar to teach me how to financially model. Her name was TT Golden. And I'm in debt to TT to this day, because she did that off the side of her desk, but she wanted me to be successful. And she taught me how to financially model. I still use what she taught me today. And that's the type of culture that National Journal has. And that's why I'm always so excited to talk about our company, because I really do think it's true. Everyone is generous of spirit. So this is where at least I want to end my presentation. Opportunities for growth. So I think it's really important, as one is considering employers, to always see if it's a meritocracy. So is it a place where the organization invests time, invests mentorship, invests resources in their employees to help them sharpen their skills for advancement? So I think there's really two different paths that we see out of people who work at National Journal. And we're truly excited about both paths. And really, it's our employees who choose which path they want to go on. We hire a lot of folks that are young in their career. Maybe it's their first jobs or even second job. A lot of our talent coming in are in that position. And the first path is people finding their own path within National Journal. So I actually have highlighted two different folks that have entered our organization, and admittedly, one of them is me on the bottom part of the slide. But the first person was a incredibly bright lady who came into our company as a research director and helped us launch a research program. And As she worked with us for 2 years to launch that research program, she then wanted to move on to work on some different things and really get more consultative. She was more in a research role, but had done communications consulting in the past and wanted to get back into that. And she found another role within our company to move over to a different part of our company that was focused on communication consulting, which was an exciting step for her. She did that for 4 years. And then she was at a point where she wanted more responsibility. She wanted to run a team again, but wanted to have the mixture of research, consulting, and management. And we had a role open up that was perfect for her. And she moved into that role. And now she's a managing director on our research group, which is awesome, where she runs the entire research team and really sets the research agenda, doing tons of consulting with that as well. So that's one path where there's someone who came in at one role, their interests changed, but they were able to find what they were looking for. They find new things that they're engaged in within the company. Then there's my story. I told a little bit of it at the beginning, where I started as a business associate on the sales side. And I stayed on that side for 4 years, and I was promoted a number of times on the sales side. But about the 4th year of my career, I really knew I wanted to be in strategy and operations and eventually run a company. So I wanted to start building my skill set there. And a role was created for me as I started sharing with my boss and with different folks within the organization. And then I moved over to actually doing that work, doing product development work. And the other thing that happens in our organization often, I was lucky enough, and I say blessed enough, to have our not senior director, our chairman come on and be my mentor. And he really helped me develop my career by teaching me how to run a business, how to identify new products. And that really set a foundation for me to eventually become president of the company a number of years later. So I carved out my own path, really, which was exciting as my path matched how my interests were changing. But then there's another way that people grow. They grow out of National Journal. We have a number of people who come and they spend 2 years with us, they spend 3 years with us, and they move on to really exciting next steps. Everything from grad schools. We have people who have gone, a number of people have gone to Harvard Kennedy School to get their public policy degree. I think we have a number of people starting at University of Chicago this coming fall, and people who are studying public health at Columbia. So really elite grad schools. And to a person, they all say the skills that they obtain at National Journal help them get to their next step. We also have a lot of people who go into the policy space where they become policy makers, folks that go into executive agencies like FERC, or even folks that go into the Department of Defense or into the White House. We just had someone who worked with us for the past year get a job in the vice president's office. So again, that's a different path, but they certainly got skills that help them be more attractive for those roles. And then folks that go into other companies like Google, we have people who work at Facebook, et cetera. So really different paths that people take. But I think to a person, they say that National Journal invested in me. I got skills that would help me in my next step. So with that said, I believe we may have Helen, who is a Tulane alum, on the line. So I want to kick it to her just so she can talk about her experience at National Journal. She joined us a couple years ago, and Helen's been a wonderful addition to our team. And she can tell a little bit about her movement through the company, because she's certainly been promoted in her time with us. So with that, thank you all for listening to my presentation, and I'll kick it to Helen.
Hi, Kevin. Thank you so much. Hi, Nicole. Hi, Sarah. It's so fun to speak with y'all. I put my Tulane shirt back on for the day, so super excited. I also have a National Journal sweatshirt that I could wear on top of it, but I thought that might be a little cheesy, so I spared y'all from my emotional dressing. But it's so much fun to speak with y'all today about just how, one, I think it might be helpful to talk through how I ended up at National Journal, and then two, what I've done with my time here and how I've tried to make the most of it. When I started at Tulane, I essentially knew I wanted to end up in DC. So once it got to senior year and it kind of became crunch time to start applying to jobs, start speaking to people, I really leaned on my network. So Nicole, Sarah, the entire alumni community was super helpful with all of that. So definitely utilize the resources that exist within Tulane. They're there. And then from there, once I started interviewing with different companies, there was something very similar in the way that Tulane approaches a lot of conversations. I know between professors and students, there's definitely kind of a mutual understanding that everyone's a human being. And that's what I really saw with the National Journal was that, yes, it's an awesome company, but I also loved everyone throughout the interview process. So that was great. And that was really what was the deciding factor in my decision. So then I joined National Journal. I started about a week after I graduated. So that was definitely a quick turnaround time, but wouldn't trade it for the world. And I started as an associate dedicated advisor. So working with our members, but really working kind of with a more senior person on our team, which gave me some great insight into just how to interact with clients and how to conduct business as a quote unquote business person. And then from there, I really started just to get more interested in what National Journal really does. And that's something I learned in my SIC minor, so the Social Innovation and Social Entrepreneurship program at Tulane. Not sure if anyone on here is a SIC minor, but if you aren't, I suggest looking into it. And if you are, I hope you're having the most incredible experience. But in that program, my professors really emphasized the ideals of entrepreneurship. So essentially making the most of your own position, kind of learning what that business does, and then how you can help grow that business. And so whereas my role is responsible for theoretically growing the business, it also, you can take on different projects within the company. So that was something that's been amazing. Rebecca and her team, and Kevin, definitely, they've been really active on the DEI front. And so figuring out how to not only bring that into our daily conversations, but also as more of kind of a programmatic side. So that's been really exciting. And to be totally candid, I thought I would probably go to National Journal, work there for a year, and then maybe start working for a client more in-house. But there's just something great about the team. There's something great about the work that's made me stay. So I'm really happy to be here. And we're sadly not in the office. We work in the Watergate, which is also pretty cool. But we've all, at least I've had a great experience working remotely just because of the people and how we've really shaped the COVID working environment. Has definitely proven to me that National Journal is worth putting my time into. Any questions or anything that would be helpful to dive into a bit more deeply? Molly, Pablo? Okay, cool. Well, what I'll do is I'll drop my email in the chat, and then if you want to reach out, please feel free to let me know. I was hired essentially through a referral, and that person is still a mentor to me today. So please do feel free to reach out, and I'm more than happy to talk further.
Thanks, Helen. And leave it. Helen is the one of the chair people of our allyship group, which supports the ERGs that Kevin mentioned. And she's such a good leader and coach with the ability to pull people into the conversation, even if it's a quiet group. So thanks, Helen. And I've just loved getting to know you and working with you, and I'm so grateful you've introduced us to the community at Tulane. I'm really excited to have more grads join us in the years to come. So I wanted to just do a quick overview of some open roles that are currently open on our team. And I think something to call out is we're always hiring. So I think that's something that's really exciting. I think there have been many times where, I connect with someone who reaches out about one position, and for one reason or another, maybe it's not the best role for them, or they're not that excited about it. But lo and behold, 2 months later, we have a role that is a better fit, or a more consistent with the area of interest that they have. So I do really encourage you to stay in touch with Helen, stay in touch with me, take a look at our website to see open roles. They're changing all the time. But the roles I wanted to highlight here, you'll see we have a couple open on the presentation center, and Kevin sort of outlined the role of the presentation center, how our members and clients interact with that tool. And the associate role is a role that we are hiring for monthly. So we have a high volume of folks in this role, and it is an entry level role, often right out of school. And there's lots of opportunity for growth within that team. So we're constantly promoting and growing folks from that entry associate role to other roles on the team. The other role that's open right now, which we have 3 project managers at the presentation center. So just from a volume perspective, certainly less of them than the associate role, which is, really someone who functions more like a traditional analyst in sort of their day-to-day function. Lots of research and obviously data visualization, as Kevin outlined. But the project manager is someone who is doing just that. They are project managing the associates in their pod, which is how those teams are structured in pods, and helping to navigate deadlines, client expectations, scoping projects, working with Helen's team to make sure that that the needs of the client or the member are being met, and they really are glue between the actual output of the product and the commercial relationship we have with our members. So the project manager role is a really cool role, and anyone who's had experience certainly in direct project management, but has managed people, worked on a project or a role that has deadlines or client deliverables, someone with that kind of background would certainly excel in the project management role. The intern role on the people research team, that is a team that has interns year round. So certainly a role that you could get plugged into. It's obviously something that is entry level with the intern title, but we very consistently hire people on full time out of that role when full-time positions open on the people research team. And I think Kevin could certainly acknowledge that the network science group and the research teams around that group are growing really quickly. So there's lots of opportunity to move from that intern position to a full-time role on the team. But all of these roles are remote right now and will be remote through at least the end of the year and likely a little beyond that. But we are actively working to think through our return to the office and what that looks like, and we'll certainly have a hybrid work environment in sort of the post-COVID era, whenever and whatever that looks like. The role I glossed over quickly, but I will go back to is a role that's actually on my team. And we are hiring for someone to manage sort of HR operations. So this would support the work of our diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts, along with our performance management and reviews. So someone who's interested in sort of all the underpinnings of what makes a culture, what makes that culture successful, and what sort of the maintenance and work to make those ideas and values come to life day to day. So this is a role that we're hiring for on my team right now, and if anyone's interested, I'd really love to connect with you and hear about how you might be able to plug into the team. But this is a snapshot of the roles we're hiring for, but there are, as I mentioned, our website is always up to date. Lots of our positions are on LinkedIn, and certainly I think the thing that I think Kevin's story, Julie, who he mentioned, who was the research director and sort of her career arc at National Journal, my own career arc at National Journal, has not always been beholden to a specific role that was existed at a specific point in time. Oftentimes it's about, we love to bring talented, capable people into the organization, and then we want to keep them. And so what that often looks like is figuring out how can we create roles or create opportunities that allow staff to be engaged in the work they're doing, to grow in the work that they're doing, to explore other avenues that they're interested in. My number one job after bringing talented and wonderful people into the organization is to make this a place that they want to stay. And that is obviously, that is present in the work we're doing in the culture, but it's also something that we're thinking about when we're thinking about what does growth actually look like. And it doesn't always mean going from junior to senior to manager. It's often about, well, you have these skills and you're not really getting to use them in this role. Have you ever thought about doing this other role? Have you thought about moving to sales? Have you thought about moving into research? And helping people think, like, how can they over the long term grow skills that they are excited about using, things that they that engage them and motivate them every day. And stay at NJ, because that's really, my number one goal is to keep Helen here forever with Kevin and I. So those are the open roles we have right now. And I know Kevin and Helen would love to take questions as well. So I know we have a small group today. Would love to hear from you all if you have thoughts, questions about roles, questions about National Journal in general, anything on your mind, would love to hear it.
I actually have a question while we're Molly and Pablo are kind of marinating on everything that's been shared. Thank you so much for just this really great information. I'm curious, two questions. So one's for Kevin and one's for Rebecca, and maybe Helen too. The first question, Kevin, when you talked about kind of the types of people that you're looking for and how the culture side, I don't remember the exact phrasing, but you talked about kind of that intellectual curiosity. That's how I heard it. Can you talk about, this might be a little bit in the weeds in terms of, but I think for applicants, how do people typically show that they have that skill? And then I'll ask the second question.
Yeah, it's a great question. So, I think for applicants, what we're looking for is someone who has worked on what I would call, this for lack of a better word, a diversity of things, right? That whether they're club memberships, what they were involved with in college, what they've done with their summers, et cetera, that there was a flexibility of experiences. Sometimes you'll see resumes where maybe someone did one thing and that was their one thing throughout school. So I think that's one way we try to at least see that on a resume. I think in an interview, it's really, is this someone who comes in from a learner mindset? So while you're in the conversation with someone, are they asking, what kind of questions are they asking? Are they asking questions that elicit answers that really get you somewhere in an interview, that shows that they actually spent some time on the organization that they're interviewing for, and they're really trying to figure out, is this a good place for me, et cetera. Those are, I think, things that we definitely look at for keys in our interview process.
Thank you. So my second question is, Rebecca, I really enjoyed just how you walked us through those open positions. And I'm curious, for those that are attending and then also those that are going to watch this, if they are really excited about National Journal, but not sure if they're a good fit, or maybe they're not interested in those open positions, what do you recommend as the next step for that particular person?
Yeah, I think reaching out is what I would encourage anyone to do. Emailing me and I can share some emails for our recruiter, our general recruiting line. I should mention the most recent Tulane grad we hired 2 weeks ago was someone that I was connected with, who just wanted to hear about National Journal, and I met her, and within 5 minutes I was like, she could totally be on the presentation center team. I have to get her in front of that hiring manager tomorrow. And everything moved really quickly. But I certainly understand the products, how we name them, how we define them, maybe are not necessarily something that at first brush someone might say, oh, my interest in policy is going to help me be great at this role, or I love Tableau and how can I turn that into a job? We're the place for you. So I think like reaching out, I know every position, our recruiter knows every position, I know every team. And so I'm sometimes working backwards. I like to just get to know you, understand what you're interested in. And then I often say, well, these 3 roles are open and this is why you reached out, but there's this other position or this product we're launching in a few months that I actually think is going to have a role you'd be a great fit for. And that's really how we approach thinking about hiring. And so, our chairman, Kevin, have this saying, that life is long. And so we're about building relationships with people and wanting to stay in touch. And, if the job isn't there today, it might be tomorrow. And there are positions where we get hundreds of applicants. And so sometimes you get through 50 resumes and 48 of them are incredible. And so you find someone really quickly. And I know that there's 500 additional people who also might be incredible, and we don't always get a chance to connect with them. So building a relationship with us, reaching out, connecting on LinkedIn, those are all really valuable ways. And we have a posture on our team that if someone goes through the trouble to email, Rebecca Katona at National Journal and say, I sent my resume in, but I want to talk to you, I always say yes. Because that's, I really appreciate that persistence, and it is something that separates you from the crowd. So we're happy to connect with anyone that wants to talk or just kind of think through, what does a career in Washington look like, and how do you kind of navigate the different opportunities at National Journal, and what might come out of any of the roles that we have on our team.
Thank you.
I have a question, excuse me, about certificates. We have a lot of people there are a lot of different certificates available through a lot of different sources. They have LinkedIn Learning, Google certificates, traditional schools and university certificates. How do those make someone more competitive, or how do you view those? And are there some that you would recommend over others?
Kevin, I'll take a first crack at this if you have any other thoughts. I think there are roles where having a specific certification or specialization might be a leg up, or ensure that you can do really well at an aspect of the job. That's not how we evaluate whether or not someone is going to be successful at National Journal. We're looking at the whole composite. And so if someone has 500 certificates or is super deep in something, but they've never actually worked, I'm gonna wonder, like, can they do this job that requires 2 to 3 years of experience? I don't care that they're like the best at XYZ thing. I don't actually know if they know how to do it in practicality. And so I'm looking for a whole person. The person definitely needs to have skills and background that would map to being successful in the role, but and Helen and I have talked about this, I've talked about this with all our sales leaders, someone who's worked in hospitality or who's worked as an ambassador for their school or in fundraising is almost always just as equipped to do a commercial role on our sales team as someone who is hyper interested in policy and worked on Capitol Hill, because it's about the skills that make you good at those things are what can make you good at the job. So, I think you probably can't be on our research team if you don't know how to use Excel, but there are other jobs within the organization, and we can also teach you how to use Excel. So I think it's more about making sure that you're going to enjoy the work that you're doing, and certifications can be an indication of an interest or certain sort of capability in an area. So they're definitely great, but they're not what we're sort of how we're looking through resumes and crossing people off or circling things. It's really, we're looking at the whole person.
Great, thank you.
You don't have much to add from what Rebecca said. I think one point I would reiterate that Rebecca made is I think for certain roles there, for example, if there was a certification in Tableau proficiency or an Excel proficiency, those type of things are important for certain roles that we have. So if we're looking at that and someone has experience to match, that certainly could be something that was positive, but it wouldn't be a make or break necessarily against other candidates, because we are truly looking at the whole person. We're a deep believer that we can train people to do things and we can give them resources to get them up to speed. We're more interested in, okay, what type of person is this? Are they a person that's gonna be additive to our culture? And that's really not only from a work aspect, that's also from is this the type of place I want to work at? And I think we've changed our mindset on not finding culture fits, but culture adds is something we started to say, where it's someone who's going to bring some additional thought on different processes to our organization, so they can help us be more exhaustive when we're thinking about products, when we're thinking about business opportunities, and on down the line.
See a question in the chat, and I can let Kevin kind of talk a little bit more to this, but the first thing that comes to mind is the presentation center. As Kevin mentioned, the presentation center covers just an extremely wide swath of topics, areas of interest, moments in time, everything you can imagine that affects how people do their jobs in Washington, D.C. But certainly there's coverage on climate and science-focused areas. And I don't know, Kevin, if you have additional thoughts on that. I mean, what we're doing is really the content we're building is what our members are asking for. So as you can imagine, there's some seasonality or cyclicalness to certain types of coverage that comes out of the presentation center.
Yeah, so absolutely. So we have which is a whole section of our presentation center team that focuses on energy and environment. That's driven by the type of clients we have. We have everyone from Sierra Club to NRDC, as clients that we work for. We also have Chevron and Shell. So it's a big focus area of ours, because a lot of our clients are in the space. So that's a yes. Also, our journalism, we have a focus in energy and environment as well, someone who writes regularly on that topic. So yes, we do have parts of our organization that have that particular policy focus.
Just as a quick addition, a couple of things come to mind. My colleague on the presentation center team made a deck on the state of bees a couple of months ago, and it was truly one of the most popular decks. I had more clients reach out to me about that specific deck. So if that is something you're interested in, whereas there are definitely topics that need to be addressed for the presentation center, if you're passionate about bees, or I'm just using that as an example because it stands out so clearly, the project managers always seem to be happy to allow you to dive into that research and essentially productize it within a presentation for the presentation center. And then also in terms of ways you can utilize your environmental scope and what you're interested in. I was just on a call, so I was a little late with the client who is more on the corporate side. They're in the auto industry and they're really interested. I'm sure you've heard of the infrastructure package. I feel like I need to have it tattooed across my face, but really interested in Biden's executive order on electric vehicles. And so we just spent quite a bit of time talking through a project that we're going to do for them about kind of what that looks like in terms of the grid and longer term impact. So definitely opportunities to utilize your interest and expertise.
Well, we are unfortunately just about out of time. We only have 1 minute left. So I just want to take the opportunity to thank all of you, Helen, Rebecca, Kevin, for sharing all of those insights with us and information. And if anyone has questions, I know some of the emails are in the chat. If you have questions for us, you can contact us at alumnicareers@tulane.edu. But thank you so much. Did you all have anything, final words you wanted to close out with?
Just definitely stay in touch. Feel free to reach out.
Great.
Thanks,
Thank
y'all.
you for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks everybody so much.
Thank you.